So what should we do? And this is what I want to finish with, rather than leave us all down on the floor. We need to have an answer. We need to know what we can do. And there's great hope in the answer. And the answer was given first, as the Apostle Paul so often does. In an age where so many of the tools that we'd normally use have been taken from us. It's an age in which the truth just isn't quite enough anymore. Because people say, well, that might be true, but I don't care. There's a higher value, and it's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. It's an age in which all the research and studies and all the rest of it can only take us so far. People don't care anymore. It's an age in which so many of the tools that we used to use are taken from us. It's an age in which we can't even remind people of the past because they don't care for the past. It's all about the me and the here and the now. But those tools, they might be worn out, they might be blunted, they might be indeed taken from us. But the Apostle Paul says there's one that remains. And I'm so glad it's the one that remains. I'm so glad that people are more and more being channeled towards this one that remains. Because it's one that doesn't rely on your power. It's one that doesn't rely on your strength. It's one that doesn't rely on my will. It's the power of God. It's one that's above my jurisdiction and outside of my pay grade. And it's the power of God for salvation. In what? The gospel. But here's something, and I hope this isn't controversial. What is the gospel? Paul's about to tell us. And he doesn't say, Jesus came, Jesus died, Jesus rose again, the end. He goes on for 16 chapters as he unpacks his thesis statement about the gospel. And he starts by talking about the truth of God as creator and God's righteousness revealed in his wrath against sin. Then his righteousness revealed in faith in chapter 4. His righteousness revealed in Christ in chapter 5. His righteousness revealed in our lives as we're changed in chapter 7 and 6. And then his righteousness revealed in his dealings through history in 9, 10, 11. Then he gets to chapter 12. And you know what? By that stage, he hasn't asked us to do a single thing. Not one thing. It's just been a flood of theology. This is what God has done, or as he describes it in chapter 12, verse 1, the mercies of God. This is all that he's done, all that he's done, all that he's done. And then he says, therefore. And I tell you what, he opens up the machine gun of do this, do that, do this, do that, until you're left just flat on the floor, dizzy. Because the gospel, the first principles are Christ, his death and resurrection. But in a pagan culture, they don't just need to know about Christ Redeemer, they need to know about God Creator. And they need to know about his way, according to Romans 1. Just as much. And not only, that's a bell. Must be, check your time, Jonathan, we'll be right. 5 minutes early. They need to know about that, but you know what else they need to know about? They need to see God revealed in the changed lives of those who have been saved. They need to see God revealed in actions that shine like a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden, as Jesus says. They need it in their face. They need pride from Christians, so we're not hiding in plain sight. And that is the full measure of the gospel call on our lives. And when we say all of this, and when we live all of this, and by the way, it includes the way we live in civil society and how we relate to the state, Romans 13, it's all in there. When we're so changed, you can bet that all of a sudden, God's work will be done in God's way. And we don't need to overstress about exactly what will happen. I've had so many stories from people all around the place where I think, I never would have imagined that happening. Well, good, because it's God's work. And we just need to be there to be used so that his power is at work in the world. And that's why our motto is truth made public, because if the truth is made public, and if that's made public in word and deed and life, you can be sure things will change. You can be sure the work of God will be done in this time and in this age. And that's why we do everything we do. And that's why we don't just go out there with studies and articles and secular reason. We do all of that. But there's nobody who should be in any doubt that the reason this all makes sense is because God is the author, we trust, of all that we say and think in this world. And that it is because of the change that's been brought into our lives that we do what we do. Then you'll see the spiritual sickness of this age may just start to be unpicked, unpacked, and God will transform people by his power, not by yours or by mine. Thank you very much. Hey, one more thing. I've been looking at the metrics and I figured out something. You guys are watching the videos and not subscribing. So please help us out a great deal by hitting the like button and then hitting subscribe, hitting the bell as well so you get the notifications. It helps us out a really great deal, and you can click here to see more videos.